Are you ready for this?
Always lay it on me.
So we're diving deep into the Bond and
The Bond Report. I love that show.
the Bond Report, right? It's all about trout fishing.
Okay.
But here's the twist. It's not your typical, out in the wilderness by the stream kind of fishing.
Okay. Where is it?
This is above ground trout fishing.
Above ground.
Yeah. And get this, it's in the city.
Wow, in the city. That's a new one for me.
Yeah.
So like rooftops, parking lots. I'm picturing like a little inflatable pool.
I know, right? You wouldn't think it would work.
Not at all.
But this episode features a guy called Captain Mike, Mr. Michael Toposhik, who's super passionate about getting kids, especially city kids, hooked on nature.
That's amazing, especially these days when everyone's glued to their screens. It's so important for kids to get outside and experience nature.
Exactly. And his motto is, get this, more tackle boxes, less Xboxes.
Love it. So catchy.
I know, right? I was immediately intrigued, like, how does that even work?
Yeah.
Above ground trout fishing in a city.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, what's really cool is how he partners with a hatchery.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, the Just Ranch Hatchery.
Okay.
It's actually brilliant. The hatchery supplies the kraut. People get to experience that thrill of the catch.
The excitement.
Right. And then the fish are safely returned to the hatchery.
It's all sustainable.
Exactly. A completely sustainable loop.
So cool. I was really impressed by how Captain Mike talked about all the benefits, beyond just the fishing itself.
Yeah, the ripple effects, so to speak.
Right. Like he talks about kids learning about weather patterns and how they affect fishing.
Interesting.
I thought that was really neat. Plus, it gets them outside, away from all those screens, away from negative influences, and just gives them something positive to focus on.
Absolutely. And it's not just about, learning practical skills. Captain Mike emphasized how fishing, even in this unusual setting, can build confidence.
Yeah, especially for kids who've never done it before.
Especially for first-timers. There's that real sense of accomplishment when you reel in your first fish. It's like a gateway to appreciating nature.
Like a stepping stone.
Yeah, even if you're in the middle of a concrete jungle.
I love that.
Me too.
And he also talked about how it teaches patience, which, let's be honest, we could all use a little more of these days.
You're telling me.
I know, right? But then he shared this amazing story about teaching his own kids to hunt and process a deer.
Oh, wow.
Alongside a friend. It was such a powerful story.
I bet. What was it about? What made it so powerful for you?
It was just this, really moving testament to the importance of understanding where our food comes from.
Right.
And having respect for the animals we consume. It's about fostering this deep connection to the natural world.
It's about responsibility.
Yeah, the sense of responsibility that goes way beyond just, casting a line or going for a hike. It's about a deeper understanding of our place in the ecosystem.
I love that he's instilling that in his kids at such a young age.
And speaking of the bigger picture, Joe Bond actually brings up seabed mining in this episode.
Oh, seabed mining. I've been hearing a lot about that lately. What a timely topic.
Super timely. It's a real hot-button issue, isn't it?
It is. Well, with the demand for all those minerals, especially the ones used in green technologies like electric vehicle batteries, that demand's going through the roof.
It's skyrocketing.
It is. But the potential environmental impact of getting those minerals from the ocean floor, that's what's got everybody worried.
A double-edged sword, right.
Exactly.
Because on the one hand, we need these resources to fuel a more sustainable future. But on the other hand, there's this risk of irreversible damage to fragile marine ecosystems.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
We're talking sediment plumes that could disrupt marine life, potential degradation of water quality. It's a tricky situation.
It really is. It's a complex issue with a lot of factors to consider. What was the episode's take on it?
Well, I thought they did a really good job of showcasing both sides of the debate. You have experts arguing that deep sea mining is absolutely crucial if we're going to meet global demands.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then you have others who are cautioning against the potential for an ecological disaster. They're saying, hold on, let's think about this.
Yeah, let's not rush into something we might regret.
It's a reminder that progress, especially when it comes to technology, often comes with trade-offs.
It's about finding sustainable solutions, but that takes careful consideration and a willingness to explore alternatives.
You got it. And thankfully, it seems like some people are taking those concerns seriously.
Right, cool.
Well, the episode mentions California's legislation, AB 1832,
Okay, what's that?
which bans seabed mining in state waters.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
And Washington State has jumped on board, too. They have their own restrictions in place.
Wow, so there's already some action being taken.
Yeah. And there are global calls for a moratorium on seabed mining.
A moratorium.
Yeah, like a pause, basically, to give everyone time to fully assess the risks and benefits.
Makes sense. We need to hit the pause button and think long and hard before we do something that could have such far-reaching consequences.
Exactly. And these legislative actions, I think they're really encouraging. They show that at least some lawmakers are taking this seriously.
It's a step in the right direction, for sure. It also shows the power of collective action, you know?
Yeah.
Individuals, communities, governments, all coming together to protect the planet. That's
Yeah.
inspiring.
It makes you think about the role we each play in conservation, doesn't it? And you know what Captain Mike brought up that I found really interesting?
What's that?
It's the impact of those, everyday things like hunting and fishing licenses.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering when we were going to get to that.
Right.
Because those are essential.
They are. The taxes from those licenses, and even on things like fishing hooks and lines,
Yeah.
that money goes right back into conservation efforts.
That's right. It's like a built-in funding mechanism to protect the very resources we rely on.
Exactly. And it's not just licenses. Did you know those cool duck stamps that people collect?
Yeah, the duck stamps.
They do the same thing.
We do.
Yeah. The artistic designs make them super popular with collectors, which further boosts conservation funding.
Wow, I had no idea.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Art and conservation. Who knew they were such a perfect pair?
I love that. It's such a creative way to support such an important cause.
And it's a great example of how seemingly small actions can make a huge difference. It's about being mindful of our choices and recognizing that every little bit counts.
Absolutely. So what else did Captain Mike have to say? Anything else that really grabbed your attention?
Well, speaking of mindful choices, guess what I stumbled upon while I was researching for this episode?
Okay, I'm all ears. What is it?
Socks.
Socks.
I know, you're probably thinking socks. What's so special about socks?
I mean, they're essential, but not exactly the most exciting thing in the world.
But these aren't just any socks.
Okay, now you've got me intrigued. What kind of socks are we talking about here?
These are from a website called xpfe.fun. Never heard of it.
And get this, they're called sailor socks. Okay, now I'm really curious. What makes them so special?
Well, you know how some people, they want to keep a professional look, but they still want to show a little bit of their personality.
Oh, absolutely. That subtle hint of flair. I'm all about that.
Right. These socks are perfect for that.
Okay.
They come in two styles, classic and discreet. The classic ones have this navy blue and white striped pattern around the ankle.
Ooh, like a sailor shirt.
Exactly. Very nautical. But here's the kicker.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What's the kicker? Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What's the kicker?
Both the classic and the discreet styles have these hilarious parrot designs hidden on the soles.
Wait, parrots on the soles? That's genius. You can rock that professional look on top, but then boom, a hidden splash of personality underneath.
I know, right? It's like a secret handshake for those in the know. Plus, they have these little anchor accents that peek out from under your pants. Just a hint of nautical charm.
That's fantastic. I'm all about those subtle details that make you smile. It ties in perfectly with what we were just talking about, finding those unexpected connections with nature, even in our everyday lives. But back to Captain Mike for a moment. Was there anything else from the episode that really stood out to you?
Definitely. His passion for passing down knowledge and tradition to the next generation really struck me. He's not just teaching kids to fish. He's instilling this love and respect for nature.
A sense of responsibility.
Yeah, a sense of responsibility that extends far beyond the riverbank.
Absolutely. It's about fostering a sense of stewardship, a connection to something bigger than ourselves. And it reminded me of something I read about the history of fishing. Did you know that humans have been fishing for over 40,000 years?
40,000 years. That's incredible. It really puts things into perspective.
It does, doesn't it? It highlights this deep connection humans have had with the natural world for millennia. And it makes you realize how crucial it is to protect our oceans and that delicate balance of marine life. If we disrupt that, we're not just impacting the present, we're potentially jeopardizing a legacy that stretches back thousands of years.
That's a powerful thought. And it reinforces the importance of those legislative efforts we discussed earlier, like California's AB 1832, prohibiting seabed mining in state waters. It's a step in the right direction, a recognition that we need to tread carefully when exploiting these resources.
It's about finding that delicate balance between meeting our needs and preserving the environment for future generations. And that balance, that interconnectedness, is something Captain Mike embodies in his approach to fishing and hunting.
Absolutely. And you know what else struck me? The story Captain Mike shared about his friend who found solace and a renewed sense of purpose through fishing after battling addiction.
That was such a powerful story. It speaks to the transformative power of nature, how it can provide healing, peace, and even a sense of belonging.
It's a reminder that nature can be a source of strength and resilience, especially when facing personal challenges. And it highlights how each of us finds connection in different ways, whether it's through fishing, hiking, gardening, or just spending time in a park.
Exactly. What matters is that we find those spaces where we can reconnect with ourselves, with nature, and with those things that bring us joy.
It's incredible how a conversation about a fishing show can lead to such profound reflections on nature, conservation, and finding our place in the world.
It is. It speaks to the universality of these themes and how they resonate across different aspects of our lives. And it highlights the power of storytelling, of connecting with nature, and of finding those shared experiences that bind us together.
Well said. So to bring this all back around, what's your take on hunting? Captain Mike talked about teaching his kids to hunt, and it sparked my curiosity about your perspective.
That's a great question and one that deserves careful consideration. I think it's essential to approach hunting with respect, responsibility, and awareness. It's not just about taking a life, it's about understanding our role in the ecosystem, appreciating the interconnectedness of all living things, and ensuring that we harvest resources sustainably.
Captain Mike definitely emphasized responsible practices, making sure the kill is swift and humane, using every part of the animal to minimize waste. He's clearly passing those values on to his children.
That's encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
We need to approach all our interactions with nature, including hunting, with humility and reverence, recognizing that we're not above nature but a part of it, and that our actions have consequences.
It's about finding that balance, that harmony that allows us to coexist with nature in a sustainable and ethical way.
Precisely. We have a responsibility to be stewards of the environment, to protect the delicate balance of ecosystems, and to ensure that future generations inherit a healthy and vibrant planet.
Beautifully said. And speaking of making a positive impact, those sailor socks come to mind again. Their hidden parrots and nautical themes feel like a playful reminder of our connection to the sea, even for those of us who spend most of our time on land.
I see your point. It's like a subtle nod to the vastness and wonder of the ocean that we often take for granted.
And the fact they come from xpfe.fun, a company focused on unique and fun designs, is like an invitation to embrace playfulness and appreciate the beauty around us, even in the ordinary.
You're right. It's a reminder that life doesn't have to be serious all the time. We can have fun, embrace our inner child, and appreciate the quirky side of things.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe those socks, with their hidden parrots and nautical charm, might even inspire someone to learn more about the ocean, get involved in conservation, or just spend time enjoying the beauty of nature.
That's a beautiful thought. It's a reminder that inspiration can come from the most unexpected places.
Speaking of unexpected places, did you catch that story Captain Mike shared about his friend finding solace and a renewed sense of purpose through fishing after battling addiction? It was such a powerful example of the transformative power of connecting with nature.
Absolutely. It highlighted how nature can provide a sense of peace, purpose, and even healing.
It really underscored the idea that nature can be a source of strength and resilience, even in the face of personal challenges.
And it's a reminder that we all have different paths to finding that connection, whether through fishing, hiking, gardening, or simply spending time in a park. The important thing is finding those spaces where we can reconnect with ourselves, with nature, and with the things that bring us joy.
Beautifully said. It's a reminder that nature is more than just a backdrop to our lives. It's an essential part of our well-being.
Absolutely. And it's something we need to nurture and protect for ourselves, for future generations, and for the health of our planet.
It's fascinating how a simple conversation about a fishing show can lead to these deeper reflections on nature, conservation, and finding our own personal connections to the world around us.
It is. It goes to show that inspiration can be found in the most unexpected places, and that even something as seemingly mundane as a pair of socks can spark a conversation about the things that matter.
And that's what the bond is all about, isn't it? Finding those unexpected connections, exploring the wonders of the natural world, and celebrating the people who are passionate about protecting it.
You're absolutely right. It's a reminder that we're all connected in ways we may not always realize, and that by embracing those connections, we can create a more sustainable, joyful, and fulfilling world.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Okay, let's take a little detour and talk about something a bit lighter.
A detour. Where are we heading?
Remember those sailor socks we talked about? The ones from XPFE?
The ones with the parrots. How could I forget? They're practically legendary.
Right. Well, I was thinking about how they're designed to be both professional and playful, and it reminded me of this hilarious story my little brother told me.
Oh, your brother! The history buff. What did he do this time?
Well, he's obsessed with the American Revolution. He devours books about that era like it's nobody's business.
I remember you telling me he uses those Firebrand books to help him with his history studies. They have all those cool timelines, right?
Yes. He loves those books. They make history come alive for him. Anyway, he was telling me about this school project he had where he had to dress up as a historical figure and give a presentation.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Who did he choose? George Washington, Benjamin Franklin,
He wanted to go as Paul Revere.
Paul Revere, the Midnight Ride guy. That's a classic.
I know, right?
Hmm.
But here's the thing. My brother, he's got a bit of a rebellious streak. He decided to put his own spin on the costume.
Uh-oh, this sounds like trouble. What did he do?
He wore a full Paul Revere outfit, complete with a tricorn hat and a waistcoat, but underneath those breeches, he was wearing those sailor socks, the classic ones with the stripes.
That's hilarious.
I know. He said he wanted to add a touch of modern flair to his historical interpretation.
I bet his history teacher loved that.
Surprisingly, she did. She thought it was creative and showed that he really understood the spirit of the assignment.
That's awesome. It sounds like he really embraced the spirit, finding a way to staying true to the theme.
He did. And, it made me think about how sometimes a little bit of humor and unexpectedness can make learning more engaging and memorable.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we don't always have to take ourselves so seriously. Sometimes a little bit of whimsy and playfulness can go a long way.
Exactly. And it's a great example of how those sailor socks, with their hidden parrots and unexpected charm, can spark conversations, inspire creativity, and even make history class a little more fun.
I love it. Your brother sounds like a true original. I have a feeling he's going to go far in life with that kind of spirit.
I think so too. He definitely knows how to make a statement, even if it's with his socks. So as we wrap up into this episode of The Bond, what stands out to you as the most important message for our listeners?
I think it's the reminder that connecting with nature is essential for our well-being, and it can take many forms. Whether it's through something as structured as Captain Mike's above-ground trout fishing, or something as simple as a family fishing trip with a bamboo pole and some worms, the key is to find those moments that allow us to slow down, appreciate the beauty around us, and reconnect with ourselves and the natural world.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And it's also call to action, isn't it? To be mindful of our impact on the environment,
Mm.
to support sustainable practices, and to advocate for policies that protect our natural resources.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing those connections, taking action to protect our planet,
Yeah.
and finding those moments of joy and wonder that nature has to offer.
And maybe even rocking a pair of sailor socks while we're at it. You never know who you might inspire.
Exactly. We'll have a link to those in the episode description if you want to check them out.
And of course, we'll include a link to the full episode of The Bond as well, so you can see Captain Mike in action.
So as we sign off, what's one key takeaway you want our listeners to ponder as they go about their day?
I think it's this: even in a world that feels increasingly complex and overwhelming, we can find moments of peace, connection, and joy through our interactions with nature. Whether it's a walk in the park, a fishing trip, or simply appreciating the beauty of a sunset, those moments remind us of what truly matters.
So true. Well said.
As Joe Bond says, until we bond again.